Gruden really wants to talk, I'm not going to cuss the man out. I'm not going to call him outside of his name. But what I am going to do is tell you guys the truth. And the truth of the matter is, there was a moment in D.C. that is vividly remembered. Jay Gruden went to a press conference, and he undressed me at that press conference in a way that a coach should never undress his starting quarterback. It was after a game, and I said in the press conference that the best players in the NFL have the guys around them play at an extremely high level. No one is out there doing it on their own. Now, the media pundits and everyone took that and said RG3 threw his teammates under the bus. And I had to eat that for a long time because Jay didn't back me in the media the next day. He doubled down on it and actually picked me apart in the media. But what people don't know is that the only reason I went to that press conference and said what I said to challenge my teammates through that press conference was because Jay Gruden asked me to do that. What hurt me about that was the fact that after I did that in the press conference, not only did Jay Gruden not have my back, but he actually burned me with it. He came out the next day and burned me in the media. He came out the next day in a meeting in our team meeting room and burned me in front of my own teammates. Took accountability for what I said. He was taken out of context and apologized to my teammates in the front of that team meeting. Now, Jay, knowing that he had asked me to do that and still went to the media and tore me down to the media, even in that room, it's the fact that he has zero self-awareness and zero integrity. Because even though he asked me to do something, he didn't have the balls to have my back. So
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it has been a wild couple weeks, 2 weeks, 48 hours, whatever you want to call it. We missed last week, but we are back. The man himself, Coach Jay Gruden. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Absolutely. And JJ, you as well, man. How are things going with you? I know you got your kid playing flag football now, it sounds like.
Yeah, dude, it was a bad loss. We were up 13-0 at half. Didn't score in the second half, and the other team ended up winning on a 1-point conversion at the end of the game. It was sad, but we move on.
Yeah, I mean, kids riding the bike, playing flag football. It's fantastic. As you guys know, as always, we are powered and sponsored by BetJack, Ohio Sportsbook. If you're still looking for your favorite sportsbook in Ohio, scan the QR code on the screen and download BetJack today. Voted Ohio's #1 sportsbook with 2 locations in downtown Cleveland as well as North Randall. Just use promo code Gruden upon sign up to receive a $50 bonus bet upon your first $50 deposit and wager. So you got to do both. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be present in Ohio to play on BetJack. Boys, I'm excited to be back with you. It's been again, weren't here last week. But Coach Jay, I know you probably want to nip it in the butt before we get started on the picks for this week. So the floor is yours. If you want to just close this out, go for it. But in response to RG3, the floor is yours.
Yes, I remember that whole year. That year was a tough year on everybody. We weren't playing very good. And, I don't remember that press conference. I don't remember telling Robert to go there and challenge his teammates. So that's on me, I guess. I've actually regretted that press conference for many times. That's not the way you should handle your team in front of the media. That was my first year as a coach, and I, handled it poorly, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion. It's something you learn from as a young head coach. And a lot of these young head coaches that are getting jobs, they'll learn that as well when they get them. But, obviously my job as a coach to get the best out of my players. And obviously I didn't work out with Robert, and he feels like I let him down. And for that, that's on me. So moving forward, I'm sure Robert has more important things to talk about, and as do I, and just going to let it go from there. But, at the end of the day, I tried my best to make RG3 a good player and help him out, but it didn't work out. And now it's time to move on.
Yeah, look, I mean, we got to the numbers a little bit off there, right? We don't even need to go that deep. It's not worth it. Again, we can close the book there and move on. JJ, I saw you were on social media this week. How about those Magic? Let's talk about the Magic real quick. They're struggling a little bit, aren't they?
They're coming on a little downswing right now, but you know what? They're coming back. We're talking about the Magic, right?
We are the Magic, the struggling Magic.
Yeah, no, I mean they're struggling, but Powell's a superstar, man. He's a superstar in the making. He made a huge shot against Atlanta. Just DeJounte Murray came down and kind of shattered our soul a little bit. Huge step back 3. He's taking game-winning shots. We never had that in Orlando. I haven't really had a guy in Orlando. Maybe Hito Turkoglu was the last guy, and I really didn't call him a guy, but Paolo's the man, dude. He's going to be a really big player in the league for many years to come. And I hope he stays in Orlando for many years to come. We're used to like giving up these kind of guys, and I'm just excited for the season. I'm excited for the future. And Franz coming back too from injury, man. We're going to be all right, man. Orlando's going to be okay.
You seem super dedicated. I love it. And Coach Jay, I know we weren't on air last week, but how'd you do betting wise? Did you beat the books in the wild card round, or did you get your ass beat?
No, didn't really play last week. I just watched the games and enjoyed myself on a nice, peaceful Saturday and Sunday, Monday wild card weekend. Good games, games that got out of hand a little bit, which were surprising. Baker Mayfield stepping up in a big way, which was cool to watch. So this week is going to be a great slate of games. It's going to be fun to watch.
What did you make of the Browns defense completely no showing in that Texans game? I mean, all year long, number one ranked defense. And we talked all year, CJ Stroud's fantastic. But
yeah, I think that you can either say it was a no-show by the Browns or a hell of a game by the Texan offense. And the CJ Stroud is a real deal. But you're right. They threw a little dump off to a tight end. He makes one guy miss and runs 80 yards for a touchdown. And there was some missed tackling by Cleveland, which was, not like them, especially in the secondary. But Houston and CJ Stroud, they're going to be an issue for a long time in this league.
One more question for you. I was shocked, and as a former coach, I want to hear your opinions on this. The Cowboys are keeping Mike McCarthy, and I think the whole world thought that was a shock. But, one of the best regular season head coaches, but once you get into the playoffs, Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott, I remember you were yelling at me for this take earlier this past year about questioning Dak. It turned out to be true, I think, Coach. Playoffs, he struggles. Yeah,
he did struggle. He made a couple very unlike Dak throws early in the game that picked the Alexander and then the other pick six. He just missed those reads, a couple of those reads, and it cost him. Defensively, they got to make some changes defensively, personnel-wise. They're just too little. They just got pushed around quite a bit. And when you give up a 75-yard touchdown that easy on the first drive, sometimes your quarterback and your play caller, they get a little giddy. They're like, oh, my gosh, we have to score right now. And then they go down 14-0, then it becomes a true panic, and people start forcing throws instead of sticking with a plan. And I think that's what happened to Dallas. And then they just couldn't get off the field. I mean, Jordan Love is playing out of his mind these last 10 weeks, and they're going to be an issue in San Francisco this week.
Yeah, 100%. Nick F., I can see in the comment down there, says Dak will never win. He wins in the regular season, man, but once it comes playoff time, he doesn't. JJ, what was the most surprising outcome of Wild Card Weekend to you? I mean, there's a couple to choose from, but what was your number one surprise pick?
Yeah, I think it has to be the Cowboys game. One, Jordan Love just put on an unbelievable performance, and then also Dak Prescott just not showing up again for the playoffs. I think this is the year where you could legitimately thought that the Dallas Cowboys could have made it to Vegas, but again, just choking in the playoffs. I was mad. I bet the Cowboys, and I just think that Dak is a loser. I kind of tweeted that out. I just don't know. I tried backing the guy as long as I could, but he can't perform in the playoffs, and I'm not behind him anymore when it comes to that. I'll be auto-fading Dak every single year that he's in the playoffs. But Jordan Love, the Packers offense, putting up 40-plus points. I mean, that's impressive as it is with Jordan Love at quarterback. It's like first full year starting, and you really broke them off like 4 or 5 weeks ago thinking that they're not even going to make the playoffs, and here they are in the divisional round playing against the San Francisco 49ers. So I think that was big. And, and then also the Cleveland Browns giving up as many points as they did the Texans, CJ Stroud playing out of his mind. And, I just think, again, Cowboys, just they're dead to me in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's the only way to put it, right? And they got to prove that they can win. I'm excited to get to this weekend's games because there's some good ones. And ranking the quarterbacks in terms of playoff wins left, what's shocking is Lamar Jackson is at the bottom. CJ Stroud, Jordan Love all have one, and so does Lamar Jackson. They're right about Dak always choking in the playoffs. Can't believe I bet on him. Yeah, a lot of people did, and it didn't work out. But let's get into this week's games. And before we do, JJ, I know you weren't here. None of us were here, but final regular season records, here they are. Third place. Yes, I know. Third place I am. But JJ, congratulations. You had a better week than me last week in week 18, 2 weeks ago. And Coach Jay, I know we already gave you your flowers and congratulations, but once again, first place, 275, 240, and 10. It's pretty damn impressive, Coach. Any words of victory there?
Well, next year maybe we'll get some better competition on this panel.
That's really impressive, though. I mean, going above 500, betting every single damn game and over.
That's hard. And we're doing it on a Tuesday typically, too, which is you don't get any of the injury reports or the weather reports. So that's even more difficult.
Yeah. So I would have to guess your summary at the end of the year at NFL, you got to be up units, right? You can't be down. You're tailing your own picks, right?
No, I usually change in last minute to the other side, fade myself. get killed.
Maybe next year we'll just 1 week you place all your picks on here and then you go place them before the week continues because it would have worked out for you. But let's get into these games. Texans Ravens, guys. First game on the slate. Look, Coach, I'm going to come to you first. You're the only one on the Ravens to cover that -9.5. I'm pretty scared about that 9.5 because maybe it's something, maybe it's not, but Lamar Jackson hasn't thrown a football in a real game in 20 plus days, 21, 22, 23 days. That whole team has been resting for a long time. I know some of the starters played in that last regular season game against Pittsburgh, but Coach, I know you're taking the 9.5. Does that not concern you at all that they've had such a layoff in between games?
That's the only concern that I have. But the way Baltimore's playing offense this year is very impressive. They can hit you a lot of different ways. They can run the football, obviously. They can throw the football. I think in years past, you used to think that if you get ahead of the Baltimore Ravens, you're going to win because Lamar's not good enough to throw it and come back. That's not the case this year. He's actually throwing the ball as good as any quarterback in the league right now, accuracy-wise. He's making all the throws, the deep outs, the daggers, the high crosses, the go balls, and he's making the right decisions as well. Todd Monken's done an unbelievable job with him in that offense. The receiving core is solid. Isaiah Likely has stepped up. Gus Edwards has stepped up despite the injury to running back. Justice Hill is making some plays. They got Dalvin Cook. I don't know if he's going to play or not, but I just really like this Baltimore balance that they have. And then the other side of the ball, they're equally as impressive. They're number one in a lot of categories. They rush the passer. They can get home with 4 guys. They mix in their coverages extremely well. Single high, a lot of two high, a lot of match type principles. I just think they're going to make it hard on a rookie quarterback. And Baltimore is really, really playing good.
Carter Quinn, sounds like you are a Lamar Jackson and Ravens fan, my man. Look, he's got to win in the playoffs, that 1-3 record. Coach, before I get to JJ, would it be more of a disappointment if the Ravens lose or more of a huge shocker if the Texans win? Which way would you go based on the outcome? Coach?
JJ, you alive?
No, he's saying to you, man. I was asking you the question.
Did you ask me or JJ?
I said you, Coach.
Oh, my bad. I was looking at JJ frozen. I thought a screen froze.
You're frozen too.
I think it'd be a disappointment. I mean, both. I mean, it's an unbelievable job already what DeMeco Ryans has already done. I think it's already been a shock what he's accomplished. Winning the division, winning a playoff game at at home against Cleveland. It's unbelievable what he's done. Having the number 2 overall pick, rookie head coach, rookie quarterback. I mean, coach of the year without a doubt. Baltimore, obviously, would be a disappointment just because they've been playing so good on both sides of the ball. That's why I like them, because they don't have a weakness. So it would be a huge disappointment for them. I just think Houston's already outplayed and outdone what their expectations, but it'd be a huge win for them as well.
Looks like there is some weather in Baltimore coming down right now and possibly leading into tomorrow. JJ, you're on my side. You're on the Texans to cover the 9.5. We just got a very good sell job, as you would call it, as to why to bet the Ravens, but let's talk the bettors into taking the 9.5 for the Houston Texans.
Well, it's scary just because this line opened at 7.5 in favor of Baltimore. Now it's at 9.5. I got it early. I actually placed my bet a little earlier on the 7.5, and now I'm looking like an idiot, not waiting long enough for it to get the 9.5. But I just like CJ Stroud, man. I just think that they're playing with really nothing to lose. They're playing with house money at this point. That's a hard pill to swallow if you're the other team. Going on the road, it's going to be difficult. I understand that, but offensively, they're clicking. CJ Stroud looks great. I just think that he's going to be able to put some points up on the board and really challenge Lamar. It could be to a point where they could go out and backdoor cover, try to get the onside kick to get a remarkable come from behind victory or whatever it is towards the end of the game. But I'm just counting on the backdoor. I do think the Ravens end up winning this game. I feel like everyone wants to see the Ravens move on. I think the NFL does too. So I think they might have a slight edge with the referees. Who knows? But then again, with that defense, the way they played against Joe Flacco and the Browns too, man, they'll underestimate that side of the ball as well. So again, I'm just going with the points here. I do like 9.5 a lot better than my 7.5, and I'm going to go ahead and take CJ Stroud this week.
Another, again, right? Both sides, great sell jobs on each side here. Does Jay think Kirk would work well with Belichick in Atlanta? Coach, thoughts?
Well, Kirk's coming off an injury. Kirk works well with everybody. He's a great quarterback. Very smart, very detail-oriented. He's throwing the ball extremely well at the highest level he's ever thrown it before he got injured. But, yeah, I think he'd work well with anybody.
Yeah, second interviews coming for Belichick in Atlanta. It sounds like, if barring any unforeseen crazy changes, that he might end up being the next head coach there, which I think's fascinating in my opinion. But They don't have a quarterback.
If you're the GM of Atlanta, are you trying to interview Bill Belichick? I mean, how much do these teams want to hire him? I know he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. The last couple seasons have been kind of tough. But I mean, if you're a GM trying to bring in a coach, are you looking for someone kind of new, younger? Because I feel like these younger coaches that are coming in are doing a really, really good job. What is your thoughts about trying to bring in Bill Belichick at this point of his career?
Well, I think he's worth an opportunity to coach again. He's done a hell of a job in his career. He's smart. He always coaches great defense. If he has some help with the personnel side of it, gets the right people in house, we all know that he can coach a football team to win a lot of games. So yes, I would interview him for sure. I mean, why not? Pick his brain a little bit, how he handled his staff, how he did certain things. Worst case scenario, you interview him and learn some things from him. But at the end of the day, to have Bill Belichick running your football team is not a bad thing. It's a good thing, especially in Atlanta. They struggled quite a bit lately, other than the Shanahan, Dan Quinn year where they went to the Super Bowl and blew that lead. Since then, it's kind of been a downhill spiral. They need to lift it back up. And Bill's always been good at developing coaches as well. So even if he stays for 2 or 3 years, has some success, there'll be people on his staff that can take over for him.
Yeah, look, if you would have told me Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel, and Pete Carroll would have not had a job come end of this season before it started, I would have told you you're fucking crazy. I mean, it's 3 really good coaches. Coach, on the coaching topic here, where do you think Mike Vrabel ends up? Again, probably one of, if not the top one still left out there. Where do you see him going?
I don't know. There's a lot of good jobs out there. And, a lot of these coaches, a lot of these owners are looking for younger people. And who knows if Mike Vrabel fits the bill for them. But we know that he's a good football coach, done some good things at Tennessee. He's a tough-minded guy. I think he's a very good coach, man. Worst case scenario, I know he'll be a defensive coordinator somewhere because that's his forte, his side of the ball. He does some good things on defense with the simulated pressures and that. But I don't see where he's going to go. I have no idea, but he'd be a fit anywhere.
Hey, JJ, if you coached in the NFL, JJ, what would you prefer to coach? What position group would you go for if you had to pick one?
Offensive guards.
Special teams. Just got to worry about just like 4 different things. I don't have to worry about too much.
Bull jive. That's special teams, a nightmare.
Offensive
personnel standpoint, get those guys to run down them kicks and punts and all that stuff. You got to find them. Practice. You got the punt return. You got the punt block. I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
You're giving a lot of credit to the special teams right now, Pop.
And special teams, you better have a good special team coach. I'm telling you, because that is a phase of the game that if you take lightly, you will lose a lot of games.
100%. And one thing I can't stand, and this is obviously a very small and minuscule part of special teams, is kicking, right? I mean, like you said, getting everybody set in and out the sideline, snap, kick, hold. So there's a lot to it. But let's get to one of the hottest QBs in the entire NFL, Packers versus 49ers. Jordan Love, I believe in his last 11 games or whatever it was, or since week 11, the guy's thrown 22 touchdowns, 1 interception. Fun fact, Coach and JJ, I picked the Packers to beat the Cowboys last week. I know it wasn't on air, so it's not officially on record, but I did send a text before the game started. Look, everyone's on the Niners in this game. I know the Packers are banged up. Jordan Love has to go on the road. The Niners haven't played in a while either. But look, JJ, I'll come to you here first. You're on the under with me as well. I mean, look, I see the 49ers winning this thing like 31 to 14, maybe something like that. I mean, I just don't see it being too close of a game.
Yeah, I just don't see the 49ers running up the score, and I really don't see Jordan Love producing what he did last week against this kind of defense. I mean, this defense really is almost a night and day difference, even though the Cowboys had a pretty good defense at home. I just feel like this is just another level, and it's another challenge, and it's just coming off a big win, going into this week, it's just going to be tough. Going into San Francisco territory, across the country, we talked about this, back-to-back road games, very difficult. And again, if the Packers somehow cover or win this game, I mean, it's going to be a low scoring game regardless, but I just think the 49ers are going to control the tempo. They're going to be able to run the ball with Christian McCaffrey. They're going to be doing a lot of things. I don't think they want to show their hands with a lot of different plays and looks and everything. So if they can get that lead out in front first, I think they're going to control the game and they're going to run out the clock. And it's just going to be probably like a 10-31 game, in my opinion. That's what I think the score is going to be.
Pretty damn close to my 31-14.
Yeah.
Coach Jay, do you see the same score outcome? You have the over. Do you think the Packers are going to put up 20 plus in this game?
Yeah, I do. I think the Packers are going to score. And JJ, when you predict the score, always put the higher number first, 31-10. I hate when people go 10-31. But yeah, I think it'll be a good game. I think obviously Jordan Love, I think if you look at his last 2 months of the season, he's playing at elite level. And when your quarterback is playing with that kind of confidence, I think they'll get some points on the board. San Fran has struggled defensively from time to time, but I just think San Francisco's offense, their consistent approach to the game, the way they can run the ball, the play actions with Brock Purdy and Debo and George Kittle and the rest of the guys, Brandon Ayuk, I think it'll just prove to be too much. I think they'll pull away at the end. I think it'll be a real close game at the half, third quarter. I think San Francisco will start to flex their muscles. And then when San Fran gets a lead and forces Jordan Love to be one-dimensional, then I think Bosa and the rest of the guys will come get him.
We're sold, Coach, on Jordan Love getting a bigger contract extension and being there for several more years, right? I think we can we agree?
Yeah,
there?
that's a wrap. That's a wrap.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
He's going to get a lot of money. He's going to get a lot more money than they probably anticipated. He's going to get top dollar.
Yeah, the quarterback market is, you guys know it, right? It's absolutely absurd. Brock Purdy, I can't wait to watch him in this game. 31 touchdowns, 11 picks, 4,200 yards this year. I know I was going back and forth with you guys all year, but the guy's played great, and now he has a chance to steam through the playoffs in San Francisco. So, going to be a fantastic game. 2 more on the slate, just 4 games this weekend in the divisional round. Bucks Lions. How about Baker Mayfield, JJ? You're on the Bucks. I mean, look, the guy, 1-year deal, trying to prove it. Was a top 10 quarterback this year, I believe. I mean, the guy had a fantastic season, went in the playoffs. He's also not 100% healthy. The Eagles are an absolute shit show and an absolute train wreck and mess, but they still took care of him, and it was a very simple, easy win for the Buccaneers. And here we are at Detroit, where tickets are like $500 a pop at the cheapest. How do you see this game going for the Bucks? You're on them to cover. Could they win it outright?
First and foremost, I want you guys to kind of rewind a couple of weeks ago when I said the Buccaneers were going to meet the Eagles in the first round of the playoffs and they were going to win that game. I took them. And then I also want to talk about this because I didn't say it. I put a post out there about being a dark horse. What's the dark horse? Everyone's on the Rams, thinking the Rams are going to go forward, but don't sleep on this Buccaneers team. They had that same exact offense basically with Tom Brady was managing. He was getting a little old. I know it's Tom Brady and everything, but Baker Mayfield's playing with a ton of confidence. And this Lions team is very vulnerable. They're very capable of giving up a lot of points. So I'm not really sold on this Lions defense quite yet. And with the firepower, with Mike Evans not having a great game last week, I think he's going to get back in check. He had that one drop ball deep down the sideline. I think they're going to take advantage. I don't think the Detroit Lions defense is very good enough to kind of contain the skill players that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have. And the Buccaneers defense played great against the Eagles. I know Jalen Hurts is hurt, blah, 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 but I think they find a way to kind of get this one done. I can see they can win this game outright. I can see a 49ers Buccaneers NFC championship, as crazy as it sounds.
Look, I think it's crazy, JJ. The two teams played each other earlier this year, weren't what they were now, obviously, but on both sides on the road, the Lions beat them 20-6. Look, I think if the Lions tackle, which the Eagles, I mean, look, I'm not taking any credit away from the Bucs or Baker Mayfield, but
it was early too. Tackle. I mean, that game was an early game. They're clicking now. Baker's playing with more confidence. I just think this is going to be a tough one, man. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's right. It's an NFC divisional game. I think it's going to be tough for sure. But I mean, you watched the game last week, right? Like the Eagles just didn't tackle. Like nobody on that secondary could tackle. I mean, there were several plays, again, not discrediting anybody on that staff or on those players' rosters, but I mean, it was a screen 5-10 yards, and then he runs for 50. So I want to see how they play on the road against this Detroit Lions team. Coach, thoughts on this game and obviously the side that you're on?
Yeah, I've been very impressed with Tampa Bay and their season that they had. Coach Bowles won that division and got a big win last week against Philly. I think Detroit will have a better blitz package plan or blitz pickup plan than Philadelphia had. I don't think there'll be as many free runners in Jared Goff's face. They do a good job of pass protection. I really like the offensive line for Detroit. I mean, they're big, they're strong, they're mobile, agile athletes, and they can run the ball. Gibbs and Montgomery are great players, obviously. Laporta's playing great. Amon-Ra St. Brown will make some plays. I think Detroit at home with this fast track, the crowd going crazy, wins this one. It'll be a close game. You're right. And I think Tampa Bay has been a very nuisance type defense with all their blitz packages of that nature. And Baker is playing with a lot of confidence, like JJ says. But I think at the end of the day, I think Detroit's just got a little bit more firepower than Tampa Bay, and they get it done. I like Jared Goff and his confidence as well. I think he's playing very well, and he'll get the ball to the right people. He won't make a lot of mistakes, and they'll get the victory.
We talked about earlier about DeMeco Ryan possibly winning Coach of the Year, but I kind of want to just highlight Todd Bowles too. I mean, if he wins this game, DeMeco ends up losing. we're talking about the Buccaneers before the playoffs even started, that this team had no chance of winning 6.5 games. I think everybody did. And I think that what he's done right now in Tampa, getting to the NFC Championship with a squad that everyone wrote off earlier this year, I think it's a huge accomplishment. And I think he's a little overlooked for Coach of the Year. I don't know your all's thoughts, but
Yeah, no, he's done a great job, JJ. That's well said.
thank you. I appreciate that. I worked on that one before we started.
Yeah, I mean, you guys probably wouldn't like what I have to say, but look, I get 9-8. He's in the conversation, but I mean, 9-8 in the worst division of football. I mean, that's got to hold some weight when you're talking Coach of the Year, right? You have other candidates that had a better record in a tougher division. That's all I'm saying. Again, not taking away anything from what they've done, because JJ, you're exactly right. I was sitting here saying they weren't going to win 5 games. You know, I'm not going to lie, and here they are again, 1 game away from the NFC title game. So my take on it, you asked for it. That's the only reason I gave it to you. But
why don't you mention Dan Campbell, JJ? Dan Campbell's done a pretty good job.
Yeah, but he was expected to do a good job this season. I think the expectation.
So if you're expected to do good, you do good. You don't get it. If you're expected to do bad, you do good. You should get it.
No, I think if you're expected to do good, you got to do great in order to get it. That's my whole thought process with it.
Thanks for that. I'm glad you're not a voter.
Yeah.
There's a couple coaches in the conversation. I just don't think Todd Bowles will get the nod, but all valid points from all parties involved. The game that's last on the slate, I know it's going to be a shorter show, but there's only 4 games, guys. Chiefs, Bills. And I got to come to you first, and not even JJ, but Coach Day. I mean, you were selling me on Josh Allen all year long when I didn't think that he had a chance, and I thought he was a turnover machine. I thought he was not smart enough, and I thought he just would be crazy and make crazy plays. But look, he's winning games, and I think because, crazy enough, Patrick Mahomes, 17 or 16 NFL playoff games. This is the first of his entire playoff career where he's has to go on the road. Call it the team of destiny, call it bullshit, but I think, Coach Day, and I'm surprised you're not, because, again, you were selling me on him. I think this is the year where the Bills take the Chiefs out of the playoffs.
They very well could, Grant. That's very well said, and I think they have an excellent chance, especially at Buffalo. I just like Kansas City's tough, hard-nosed play that they're playing this year, this physical style of football, running between the tackles. They have 2 excellent guards. Their center's playing good. Pacheco is running physical, and I think now the emergence of Rashee Rice, and obviously with Travis Kelce and Pacheco out of the backfield or McKinnon, I think that gives Patrick Mahomes just enough weapons to get it done. And in big games, I don't like to bet against Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid. I'm sorry. I like Josh Allen. I love Buffalo. Coach McDermott has done an unbelievable job with the defense, and after losing 2 of his top players, and it's going to be one heck of a ball game. But I just think I'm going with Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going with Andy Reid.
Going to be cinema must-see TV, and I want to ask, Coach, this is just an interesting tidbit that I was thinking of. Actually, I thought you were watching the game last week. What was the worst weather game you played in when you coached? Did you ever coach in one that was near as cold as that Chiefs-Dolphins game last week?
Well, it felt like we played late December in Pittsburgh at night, and it was like the Sunday night football, I think it was. That wind was howling, and I used to go to the bench and pretend I was talking to my center, and I'd stand by the heater. So it was so cold. So, yeah, it was brutal. It was hard to call plays. I'm telling you, it was hard. It was hard.
What is the biggest obstacle as far as being a coach, coaching in that cold? Like, is there not one? Is it everything? Like, what's the hardest thing?
I think it's more so the wind than the cold, but the cold is hard. I mean, coaches, we can handle. We can put as much stuff on as we want. I just was underprepared in the first half. I didn't have enough on. So the second half, I loaded up, and I was a lot warmer in the second half. But I think just you got to make sure you're aware of the wind and all that stuff, and the ball sometimes is harder to throw, so you got to be a little bit more conservative with your shot plays and all that stuff. So, yeah, you just got to kind of get a feel for how your quarterback's handling the ball, how your ball handlers are handling the ball, how he's throwing the ball, and then go about your game plan.
Nick Simon says Patriots Bengals fucking hurricane. Were you with Cincy when you played in a hurricane?
Yeah, that happened like in the fourth quarter. It was unbelievable. It was we were up by like 6, and Tom Brady got the ball late in the fourth quarter. I'm like, oh God, this is not going to end well. And then this hurricane came running through there. Rain was pouring everywhere. We ended up holding on and winning, I think 13-6 or something like that, 13-7. It was unbelievable.
Geez, shout out Nick for the game. That's a good reminder for Coach. Look, cold weather games are crazy, right? And especially snow games, how they canceled the Buffalo game, pushed it back a day. So I'm a fan of them, but interesting that the Bills are not putting a retractable roof or a dome on their new stadium. I know that doesn't affect travel, but I don't know. Seats were a mess. It seems like you should put a retractable roof or a dome on that thing if you're spending.
Those fans love that shit though, man. They're out there tailgating with no shirt
They
on.
do.
They're going through tables with snow on it. They're sliding down, shoveling snow out of the seats. They love it, man. I don't think that they need it. They just love the atmosphere.
Beaming snowballs at George Pickens when he goes to catch a touchdown.
They should have it personally.
I
don't think it's football when you play in some of those bad weather games. It's not. I mean, you go through training camp and OTAs, you work your ass off to get to this level and to get to this point in the season, and you can't even throw a forward pass. It's stupid to me.
It's a good point. I mean, usually in the summer when you're going through that stuff, it is good weather. So it's interesting and a good take on things. But JJ, I'm going to come to you here about this Chiefs-Bills game. You're on the Chiefs as well. You weren't on the Bills to start the season, and clearly you aren't now. So biggest key factor for you that goes into fading Josh Allen and the Bills at home?
Well, I did want to make that change. I am making an audible here. I am going to
correct.
be on Buffalo. It was a hard decision. This game was really tough because you can't really bet against Patrick Mahomes, but this is his first road game. Not sure what you're going to get. You see Travis Kelce be a little bit more involved on the offensive things, which brings me to a question later. But I just feel like Josh Allen, they're playing with a lot of momentum, man. They're hard to beat. I think they're the biggest wave right now through all the teams in the NFL playoffs right now. And it's a hard pill to swallow for some of these teams that are playing against them. And being at home, having that behind him, I think Josh Allen knows how important this game is to his career, to everyone's. Stephon Diggs has a chip on his shoulder as well. It's going to be tough for Kansas City, and we don't know what Kansas City team we're going to get because we saw them look not so great in the regular season in a few games. And if receivers aren't catching passes, if Rashid Rice isn't doing what he needs to do, Travis Kelce's not going to get open. I just don't think that they're going to have enough firepower to keep up with the Bills. What I do love in this is the over. I am huge on the first quarter over. I think both teams are going to come out making a statement on both sides, and it might be a little close towards the end on that total, but I think both teams are going to come out, score quickly, show them what they got, and it's going to be a great game from there. But I think ultimately Buffalo Bills at home, they're in the way that they're playing now and the way that they are, I think it's a hard team to beat. So I like Buffalo.
I will say I came in third place, but one thing I didn't do is caught an audible all year. So you got to give me some credit there.
No, I think you called one. I think you called
did
one.
I?
You might have. I don't know. We got to run back.
Yeah, might have to. Look, guys, again, shorter show. Those are the 4 games for you. Before we go, I got to ask, I know we're in the divisional round, so it's becoming more likely that these picks will be true, but I want a Super Bowl prediction from each of you as we sit today. 2 teams. If you had to call some, then we can come back to you and say you were a genius. JJ, I will come to you first. Before the divisional round kicks off on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Super Bowl prediction, 2 teams. Who you got?
I'm taking my San Francisco 49ers to go out of the NFC. I took them before the year started. I thought they were the best team in the league, and they show it week in and week out. Brock Purdy, possible MVP, who knows? But I like 49ers to get out of the NFC. I think they have a pretty cakewalk schedule. They get through the Packers, and they play probably the Bucs next round, which I think is going to happen. And then they're going to go ahead and and the AFC is wide open. If it's going to be Ravens and Bills, I think I'm going to go Buffalo, man. I think everyone's going to be on Baltimore. I think everyone's going to expect Baltimore and San Fran, but I think Josh Allen and company, they got some tricks up their sleeve, and I think they make it to the Super Bowl. It's going to be San Francisco, Buffalo, but San Francisco is going to be your Super Bowl champion this year.
What's going on, Jack? He says Chiefs 49ers. Hope you're doing well, Jack.
Jack.
How's Jack doing, by the way, guys? Is he hanging in there?
Sensational.
Good. Coach Jay, we're going to close Super Bowl prediction. 2 teams. Before we go, I'll go. I'm going to go Niners. As much as I want to take the Lions, I just can't. It would be just a wishful thinking pick. And then I'm going to go Ravens. I think this is the year where they get there. But, Coach, floor's yours.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going chalk, the number 1 seeds, Niners and the Ravens. The Chiefs-Raven game, I think next week, if it happens, I think will be one hell of a game. But I think it's going to be San Fran out of the NFC, and then I think the Ravens, I just can't talk highly enough about the Ravens' balance. Their balanced attack and the way Lamar's playing, so that's what I'm going with.
I love it, boys. Well, Coach Jay, appreciate you tuning in. Again, obviously, this is your show, Taking the Points. JJ, appreciate you coming on as well. We've got a ton of snow in Cleveland, so I'm going to get home before the snow keeps coming. Boys, best of luck, and we'll see you next week. We've got some fun guests lined up as well in the coming weeks. But, boys, appreciate you coming on. We'll catch you next week.
Thank you, guys.